Josh Bibby. I am the Future Pupil Programme Employability Coordinator here at the University of Law. Welcome to another episode of the Future Pupils podcast. Joining me once again are my colleagues Amy Weir and Charlotte Arundale. How are you both today?
Good, thank you, Josh.
Good, thanks, Josh. Enjoying the sun?
Excellent, good to hear it. Well, today what we're going to be talking about is the Inns of Court. So this podcast is going to be aimed at people who are pre-bar course, those of you who perhaps haven't yet joined an Inn of Court, and you might be deciding which inn to join or which inn to apply to for a scholarship. I think what we want to do is have a chat about what we like about our individual inns, what kinds of things the inn offer, and just really to give a bit of a flavour, because I certainly think that when I was pre-bar course, I didn't really understand so much the role the inns played, what they actually did, why we even had to join one at all, and kind of what to expect. Maybe should we start off by saying which inns we're all at? So I'm at Lincoln's Inn, which I got a scholarship from for the bar course.
I'm at Inner Temple, and I also got a scholarship from Inner Temple.
I'm from Middle Temple, and I also had a scholarship from Middle for the bar course.
Amazing. Amy, did you also get a GDL scholarship, or was it just bar course?
Yes. So I applied first on the GDL, and that was actually one of the reasons. I know we don't want to delve too much into applications, but that was one of the reasons why I applied for Inner Temple, because they guaranteed you to get this money essentially for the GDL for the bar course if you got one on the GDL. And so I thought that was quite a good comfort, knowing that if you've got the backing to do the GDL, you also have the backing to do the bar course.
Yeah,
so I think that is something to bear in mind.
Yeah, I think that is definitely one of the important things to bear in mind when you're thinking about the different inns. As a broad statement, we can say all the inns are actually great. There's no wrong inn to choose. There's no inn that's weaker than the others, and there's not necessarily an inn that's better than the others either. They're all brilliant, but they do all have subtle differences around perhaps the way in which they offer scholarships, the individual types of scholarships they offer, application procedure, and again the criteria is broadly very similar, but there are again subtle differences. So I think when you're choosing an inn or trying to learn more about the inns, don't put pressure on yourself to necessarily think I need to choose like the best one, but just go for more what fits you. Would you say you both agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think they all have their, as you say, they're all great, but some of them small little bits may be slightly different. I think maybe Lincoln's is focused a little bit more on academics. Is that right, Josh?
I don't know. I suppose I think they all prize academics. I don't know if I'd say Lincoln's actually.
Is it
put
not?
that over
Okay.
other things. Lincoln's do have a bit of a reputation for loving like ethics and professional ethics.
Okay, interesting.
But, yeah, I'm not necessarily sure academics over more than the other ends.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, also they all have stunning grounds in central London. And the inns are like really welcoming. So I always think like if you're thinking about choosing one, you could just pop in one day, and the porters or whoever's there will probably be more than happy to give you a point in the right direction and let you have a bit of a look around the grounds.
Yeah, I did that with Middle and Inner, because one of the other reasons that I liked Inner was how close that Middle and Inner were together, because it kind of felt like a really nice atmosphere having them really close. And the porter at Middle Temple was so nice, showed me and my friend around the kind of hall, probably showed us like a bit more than maybe if you didn't ask you'd get to see. So they are really friendly, and I think it is worth going to visit, because it's totally fair enough to kind of pick your inn based on the kind of vibe you get around it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Charlotte, go on.
No, that's okay.
I mean, we're talking about like the grounds being pretty and things like that, and the atmosphere being nice. But I suppose it actually kind of makes sense as a starting point to talk about why that's important, i.e., what would you actually go to the inn for? So for me, really, when I go to the inn, or certainly when I was on the bar course, you go there for your qualifying sessions and the call to the bar ceremony. So it's that kind of environment for those types of events. It's not like you go to the inn on a day-to-day basis, is it?
Did you either of you use the inn's library?
Oh yeah, I did actually.
Because I quite enjoyed doing that at Inner Temple once the refurbishment had finished. It's got a great library to just go and work.
Yeah. When I was doing the master's component of the bar course, you sort of like you finish the main bar course May time, and then over the summer you do the additional optional modules. And I found it quite a good place to go and like revise for those.
Yeah, and some of the libraries are quite different, maybe slightly more modern. So you could just go and do a bit of a library tour and see where would you like. Although having said that, you can visit as a member of an inn, you can visit any of the libraries, can't you?
Yes, yeah, you can. And also they have like
I did a bit of scooting around all of them.
Yeah, they do a Saturday rota as well, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, you might go to the inn to use the library. You might go for your qualifying sessions or like call to the bar. You can also just pop into the inn whenever you want for like some lunch or in the evening for some dinner or some drinks. I really like going to the Lincoln's Inn MCR because frankly, in central London, it's a really nice place to take family and friends just for like a few drinks after work or something.
Yeah, I've met people at the Pegasus bar just because if you're both members of the inn, it's just quite nice to meet there. It's an excuse to go there.
Yeah,
very nice.
Networking, yeah, anything like that, and just generally a nice place to relax because it's kind of like it feels kind of exclusive without being too exclusive.
Yeah. It's a sense of community,
really nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I also don't know if Josh or Charlotte, you did any of the kind of societies with your inn, but I did the Inner Temple Drama Society, which was good fun, and our rehearsals were at the inn. So that kind of gave it almost a uni feel to it, that you were kind of doing something fun with a group of people that share a common interest.
Yeah, tell us a bit more about how you got into that.
So I saw it advertised on Instagram, and I think I'd been kind of looking for things to get involved in. And so I just signed up to the Inner Temple pantomime and rocked up. And then, yeah, everyone that signs up, I'm pretty sure gets in, even if you're just a spoon or a fork or something, even if you're not a main part. Anyone that
What?
I part of my role. So I was a kind of play on Frankenstein character for some of it, but then for the rest of it, I was a fork because there was a
Sorry,
gosh, Amy.
there was a Beauty and the Beast.
I might have to mute myself. This is hilarious.
I'm not joking. There's a Beauty and the Beast element. There was a dance in it when there was cutlery, and I was a fork. But yeah, honestly, such a good way to meet people because we were all going to the bar. Some people had pupilages already, some people didn't, and couple of times a week at the inn rehearsing. So things like that. It's a really good way to meet people. And again, that sense of community.
Yeah. It's just reminded me actually, the dinners at the inns are really cool. I mean, Charlotte, we went to one at Middle Temple, didn't we, a few months ago?
We did. It was so good. Oh, it's a lovely place to take your partners if you have them or friends from other inns. So Josh is from Lincoln's, but it was nice for him and his partner to join me and mine at the dinner, and you get to meet other people, other students, other barristers, young pupil barristers, and also you have guest speakers. And we were really lucky that we had Neil's dad from the In-Betweeners, which was absolutely epic. It was amazing.
Yeah, the link here is actually the spoon and forks that you mentioned. It just made me think of like a ball type setting because Neil's dad from the In-Betweeners also played like the town crier character in Disney's Cinderella. So he told us a big story about that in his dinner speech. Anyway, I think the point is that there are these really cool, unique opportunities that you get through the inn to go to these kinds of events and really kind of immerse yourself in the world of the bar. And you get those opportunities even when you're a student member So even before you get pupillage or start pupillage, you can go along to these events. And I kind of feel like it's just, particularly if you're like me, in terms of I come from a background where none of my family are barristers, none of my family friends are barristers. I don't really know that many barristers. It's just great to kind of go and meet all these people.
Yeah, I think there's also an element of support network, because the inns do things like mentoring schemes, or from my experience when I've spoken to barrister inns events, they're always really happy to offer you guidance, offer you support. It is a very kind of supportive culture, I found anyway, at Inner Temple.
I completely agree with Middle. I've had 2 mentors through Middle, which helped me in the pupillage application cycle, and I'm so grateful and glad to be a part of that inn for the help that I received.
Yeah, and there's the similar stuff going on with Grays as well, even though we haven't got someone from Grays on this episode of the podcast. And even like, actually, what should be on your radar if you're pre-bar course stage is that it's the Grays in Advocacy Day, is it, Charlotte?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, definitely check that out.
Could we talk a little bit about what kind of qualifying sessions are? Because I remember when I started the GDL, knowing that on the bar course I'd have to do qualifying sessions. I didn't really know what anyone was talking about, apart from the fact I had to do them.
Yeah, I think, Amy, you might be best placed to take us through that, actually, because you had the more traditional year than us. Both Charlotte and I we were doing the bar course through COVID. So you always hear people talking about, oh, you have to eat your dinners to become a barrister. Well, all of our stuff was virtual because of COVID, so we never actually got the chance to go and eat those dinners.
Yeah, I actually didn't do that many dinners either, to be honest, because the first half of mine were also online because of the project at the Inner Temple, the Pegasus project. A lot of it was kind of getting refurbished. But just generally, I think they're educational events, and they cover different themes, from ethics to kind of life as a barrister to equality and diversity. And they take quite a few different forms. So I think some of them can be dinners, or they can be, for example, weekends away, or they can be kind of panel talks, is how I would describe them.
Yeah. I think with Lincoln's, we had to do, it's probably the same for the other ends. You had to do like a certain number of your qualifying sessions based on advocacy. So like for some of the criminal advocacy ones that I did, it was like practicing plea mitigation or bail applications. And then you'd have to do some to do with like equality, diversity and inclusion, some to do with professional ethics.
Yeah, I think ours also, you had to have a certain amount that were interactive. So there are some that are very much you're just watching and observing and taking it in, but then there are other sessions that you are required to kind of do something. That might be some prep and then do a bit of advocacy, for example. So I think that's how they phrased it within a temple.
We were the same. But also I think once you've got on to the bar course, or once you're a member of an inn, it doesn't necessarily matter if you've done your qualifying sessions. You can still go to any talks or any events that you find interesting. It's not limited just to students, which is nice.
Yeah, I think my top tips for qualifying sessions would be just to remember, like on the day that the booking comes out, get on it early. It was almost, I don't know if it was just for my year group, but it was almost like getting festival tickets in terms of booking into like the best qualifying sessions.
Yeah, they would sell out quickly.
Yeah, and also I'd personally say front load them. So try get as many done in the first term as you can, so that when it comes to like pupillage application season, you don't have to be spending too many evenings doing qualifying sessions.
I fully agree. I think I did most of mine before the applications even opened for pupillage.
Yeah, and I think it's also good that we've pointed out about those different, you need a certain amount of points in those different areas, because it's easy to kind of brush over that and find yourself booked into 5 ethics qualifying sessions.
Yeah.
So do just bear in mind that you're getting the right ones to meet the criteria.
Actually, these qualifying sessions, because they're on quite like they're on really good relevant content, and they're delivered in a really not intense, what's the kind of word I'm looking for, like an engaging and intellectually stimulating way. So these aren't just, oh no, I've got to go do a qualifying session. They're actually really useful talks and things. So the standard's really high, so take them seriously. And the inns are very hot on attendance. The qualifying sessions are mandatory, so you do need to go to them. And if you're late or don't turn up without reasonable excuse, they can actually deny your call to the bar, or you'll have to explain yourself to benchers. So there are actually consequences for non-attendance, where you compare that to, say, like any other talk you might sign up to related to the bar, and it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't attend for whatever reason. But for these, it does. Because yeah, we were saying about front loading them, doing them before Christmas time, before pupillage application season opens. Actually, you might find some of the talks become relevant content for pupillage applications, or spark interest in other areas of law, or certainly the ethics sessions I found were really useful when it came to cementing my own understanding and then prepping for pupillage interview questions and for the ethics exam. I don't know if you both felt that.
Yeah, we had, sorry, Amy, we had a really good one by Jackson, who writes the ADR handbook. And that was really helpful. So not for the ethics exam, but for the civil lit exam.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You were literally,
I
talking
know.
to the author of the white book kind of thing.
And that's why I passed civil litigation.
Likewise for me, that I think one of the most useful ones, they did a session on examination in chief and cross-examination, and obviously you get sessions at ULaw on that, but it was just they gave some really just quick and useful tips for those things that were really useful for my exam. So I agree that they're not just a tick box exercise, they're actually really useful and intellectually engaging, as you said, Josh.
So ultimately, the INs exist, and they're there for the training, support, and professional membership for barristers. So when you're explaining to family and friends, like when they say, "Oh, what inn are you in?" and they sometimes mean, "What chambers are you going to?" The inn is all about the professional membership, and the chambers is where you actually work. Of course, confusingly, the vast majority of the chambers are located within the inns. So if you take me, for example, the chambers that I'm going to is located in Gray's Inn, but I'm a member of Lincoln's Inn, and that doesn't matter. So don't worry about that at all. And also, I didn't realize until fairly recently that you can actually be member of more than one inn. And it's quite common for barristers as they go through their career to become members of other inns. I think actually, wasn't Lord Denning member of all four inns or something?
I believe so.
Yeah. I didn't know that you could be a member of more than one inn.
Yeah, you can. It's just like, I mean, for me, because I got a scholarship at Lincoln's Inn, you then don't have to pay for membership at that inn. So if you don't have a scholarship, you then have to pay for membership at the other inns. But yeah.
I don't know, Amy, have you been asked to pay anything annually? I definitely haven't. It was just a one-off payment, but I don't know if that's a scholarship thing as well.
I had to pay an upfront membership fee, but I haven't had to pay anything since.
Should we have a little chat about the benefits of joining an inn early versus waiting and applying for a scholarship? Because this is quite often a question Anna and I discuss in careers appointments with students, because I think it's tricky to know, isn't it? If you're at that pre-bar course stage, say you're on the GDL or you're in second or third year of your law degree, and you're thinking, well, the inns have lots of resources that might be helpful to me if I join early. But then if I join that inn and I apply to them for a scholarship and they reject me, I then can't apply to a different inn.
I think we can only really talk from our personal experiences. I didn't apply to an inn before I'd applied for a scholarship. So I went for middle because my first bit of work experience had been around there and I absolutely fell in love with it. So it's quite a nice story. I also liked that they interviewed everybody. But had I not got the scholarship, I probably would have taken a year out to get some experience and applied to a different inn because the scholarship to me was quite important.
Yeah, that was the most important factor for me, was getting a scholarship, because the simple truth of it was I couldn't afford to do the bar course without a scholarship. I applied for one in my final year of my undergraduate law degree and got rejected. And then I went and worked in the police for a few years and then applied for a scholarship again, this time successfully to a different inn. So that really worked as a strategy for me. And then, of course, meant that I could fund the bar course. But if I'd locked myself in early by joining the inn that I initially applied to, I'd have to go for the same inn again. So you can apply to the same inn in a subsequent year, But of course, you've got to think, well, what was it about that unsuccessful year? Was it the fact that it was me as a candidate that wasn't quite ready, or was it maybe their selection criteria not quite fitting me? Of course, you can come back stronger and you might be successful, but I kind of felt that I was better suited elsewhere.
For me, because I was going to be doing the GDL, I don't think the inns had been on my radar at undergrad, so there wouldn't have been much benefit to me joining an inn early, I don't think, because I probably didn't really know much about them and what they had to offer until I started considering doing the GDL. And then I thought I'll apply for a scholarship and join an inn based on that, I think was my experience.
So I think our conclusion on that probably is that it doesn't matter either way which way you do it. You can be successful either way, but it's just worth bearing in mind and having that information so that you can make the most informed choice possible.
I think there are also, so we've mentioned like the Gray's Inn Advocacy Day. You can't do that if you're a member of another inn, but you don't have to be a member of Gray's to take part in it. So having that option is quite nice. And there are also dinners to the universities that I think most of the inns do. So you're not locked into a particular inn. If you haven't already looked, you can go and have a feel around all the others.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, as we said, they're all brilliant, and all have had very successful barristers go through their doors over the years. All have had, Supreme Court judges and all the rest of it. So it's not like if you can only be right at the top if you go to one certain inn. Yeah. Do we have anything else to say on the Inns of Court?
I don't know how much difference this makes, but there are slightly different sizes as well, aren't there? I think Lincoln's is the biggest. Am I right thinking that, Josh? I think it's got the most members.
I don't know, actually. I don't know the stats. I know roughly the recruitment stats, the scholarship stats, but
as far as I understood it, that Lincoln's is the biggest, but I think they do vary in size to membership. So if that's something that's important to you, something you could research.
Oh, actually, you've made me think of an interesting point. What about say, for example, you're going to be practicing in a different area of the country? The inns are based in central London. Is there much going on in terms of not quite provincial hubs, but you know what I mean, like representation of the inns in other cities?
That's a good question. I feel one that I should probably know the answer to, but I don't.
I think they do kind of do some networking type events in different regions, and I certainly know that when it comes to interviews for scholarships, they'll sometimes do a northern interview base.
Yeah,
they do circuit events and circuit dinners. I know that.
Yeah,
and for the advocacy weekends, they also do different locations. So there'll be one in the Midlands, one in the North, one in London.
Amy, do you want to talk a bit more about the events that you went to in the advocacy weekends? Because I don't know about you, Josh, but because of COVID and working part-time, I wasn't able to go to one, and I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I never got offered one because of COVID, and I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah, it's really worth keeping an eye out for the deadline, because it's another one that they can sell out quickly because a lot of people want to do them. But it was really, really good fun. So I went to Crew Hall and stayed there for the week. So it was 2 nights. And the whole weekend was based around the Court of Protection. So I think it was the first time they've ever done an advocacy weekend on the Court of Protection. And it was so fascinating because I didn't have much exposure to the Court of Protection until then. And we had talks on it. We did a few exercises on it. And then we all had in our groups a supervisor, which meant that we got to know QC quite well and could ask them lots of questions. We did a few workshops. We obviously had lots of nice dinners and nice food. And it was a really good weekend, and also a great way to meet other people from Inner Temple, because it's not just a couple of hours qualifying session, it's a whole weekend, and you get to meet lots of different people. And we have a group chat from it of kind of Inner Temple, I can't remember what it's called, but just a group of people that met on that weekend that have kept in touch, which I think is really nice because it's across the country as well. So I do really recommend doing it. Good networking, as I say, both for current students, but also for people that are currently at the bar.
Am I right in thinking that it counts as 2 points for your qualifying sessions as well? At least it did for us, I think. Not that I did one, but.
And for the interactive element of it, because you get to do some advocacy. So for us, we had a kind of mock court of protection trial, hearing, sorry. And so, yeah, it goes towards the interactive points, which are some of the harder ones to sometimes get, in my experience anyway.
It does sound quite daunting, doesn't it, doing all of this advocacy in front of barristers and QCs. But I certainly found that whenever I was going to any in events and in qualifying sessions, the best piece of advice I can give you is make mistakes. Because it's only by making mistakes that you get the feedback, and the feedback is incredible. It's just it sets you on that right path, so that the next time you have a go, you can implement what they've said, get it right, and get yourself into really good habits.
Yeah, and for me, they would sometimes, if you made a submission and they would interject, give you some feedback, and then let you run it again, which was really helpful. So
throw yourself into it, take those opportunities, and it can be a bit nerve-wracking at first, but really just give it a go. And that's how you get the best out of the ins, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And from my experience, people have been really friendly and really constructive with their feedback.
Right. I think then that probably concludes our podcast on the ins of court. Anything else to say? Any last remarks?
No, other than what we've already said, which is that they're all great and have a lot to offer.
Yep, definitely. And if it's a nice sunny day and you've got nothing else to do and you're thinking about which inn to go to, do go give them a visit in central London. It's a really lovely day out. It's the kind of thing that your family and friends love as well, because they're stunning. And if nothing else, they make a great Instagram picture.
So true.
Right, thanks for listening. This is actually my last podcast because today is my last working day at the University of Law. So just wanted to say a little.
So sad.
Just wanted to say a little thank you and goodbye. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Charlotte. I do hope that you manage to listen to future episodes, and good luck, everyone, on your journey to the bar.